you so much for getting involved with this project. We're going to try and start this off with you giving us a little bit of you giving us your name and letting us know what your job is.
Hello, so my name is Owen Jones, and I'm a technician here at Plymouth Marine Laboratory. And sort of my day-to-day role includes a lot of working on the equipment that we deploy out at sea for measuring sort of various parameters in the water. And a lot of the equipment that we deploy is kept out there for long periods of time. So there's all sorts of things that have to be kept in good condition and repaired when they come back, because the marine environment is a very hostile one. So yeah, my job is making sure everything is working when it goes out, and that when we get it back, it's we recover the data off of it, and then make sure it's ready to go back out again in just as good a condition.
Fantastic. And how did you kind of get into this role?
When I was 16 and I left secondary school with my GCSEs, I was looking around for an apprenticeship, and an apprenticeship at Plymouth Marine Laboratory came up, and I thought, wow, this is a really good opportunity, because it's just not your typical apprenticeship, one in marine science. So I applied for it and went through the interview process, which was the first job I'd ever really applied for and interviewed for. And then I got the apprenticeship position, and that was a 2-year-long position. That was run alongside a college course at South Devon College. And then after those 2 years, I was offered a full-time position, which is what I've continued on for another 2 years now.
Fantastic. So let's kind of cast your mind back to school. What kind of subjects did you study at school, and what kind of qualifications did you get as a result of that?
When I was at school, I did all of the sort of things that you wouldn't associate with marine science. So,
Okay.
so I actually did music and drama and photography, quite a lot of creative things. And I enjoyed school, and I did what I would call average, mediocre in my GCSEs. But more importantly, I had a real passion towards sort of the sea, and a real interest in sort of that was a lot of an important part of my life, and something I'd spend a lot of time around the sea, and I was fascinated by it.
Okay, so you came into the job as an apprentice. What kind of training do you have to kind of keep you current and keep you up to speed with things?
So a major part of my role is actually going out to sea on the research vessels, and we have two here at PML. One Plymouth Quest, which is a large ex-Icelandic whaling boat, which has been converted into a scientific research ship with labs on board, and a huge array of scientific sensors and water collecting devices. So I spend a lot of time on that boat, but we also have a smaller boat, which is a rib, which we use for sort of inshore and estuarine sampling. And part of my role is to actually manage and skipper the rib, and go out on the larger ship as a sort of scientific helper and collect samples. So an important job as my role is keeping my certification up to date, and striving to better my certification in terms of boat handling and all of the sort of bits around it. So that's keeping up to good health, to have a medical certificate, and keeping up with things like sea survival, making sure you're safe to work in an environment like that, because it is a very challenging one. And your employee must be confident that you're going to go into that environment in sound health, and not have any wobbles whilst you're out there, because sometimes you can be a long way from help.
Okay, so I mean, when we look at the kit behind you, I mean, I presume you service that kind of kit as well. I mean, do you get training for that as well?
Yeah, so a lot of the kit that we have here at PML is really quite specialist. And in fact, like the thing behind me, the buoy here, the data buoy, there is only 2 of these in the world. So there's no real university course that can teach you it. In fact, with a lot of these bits of kit that we have, especially autonomous kit, the manufacturer provides training, because they know the equipment best, obviously, and they know how to formulate a course. That is how you will learn to operate and maintain and repair kit like the ones behind me is actually through training through the manufacturer.
Okay, that's cool. And so, what kind of personal qualities do you think you've had or you've got that's made you successful at what you do?
It's a very good question. I think the most important one I would say is just a willingness to learn and showing a sort of a good aptitude to learning and putting yourself forward for things. So if somebody asks you, "Oh, would you like to come out with me and do this sampling?" And we're going up the River Tamar, and it might be a bit cold, it might be a bit wet, but we're going to go out and try and collect some samples and see uh, how much N2O or methane gas is in the water, then I would always say yes to that, because then you learn from those people, and if you always go and do new things, you're always learning, and you just build up a wealth of experience. So yeah, having a sort of willingness to learn and a sort of a good understanding of what you can do to sort of offer your assistance.
Okay,
I think that's very important.
right.
And sort of understanding your skills and how you might be able to um, help a group or a team out which may be lacking those skills. Noticing where you could be useful and putting yourself forward for things.
So, being
Um,
proactive is really kind of quite important in all of this.
Yes, yeah, proactiveness.
Okay.
That's probably the word I'm looking for. And another really important thing I think is just being somebody that's easy to communicate with. I think communication skills are really important. In fact, especially in environments that we work in, where often it can be quite challenging, whether that be the weather conditions or the sort of the nature of the job that you're doing. Often it's a combination of both. Bad weather, rough seas, doing a difficult job. The most important thing is that you're speaking to each other and sort of explaining what's going on. So if somebody is a bit sort of, if somebody does get a bit confused about something or they're not quite sure, then they feel like they can ask other people that they're working with, okay, what needs to be done? What's about to happen? Have I done something wrong? That's really important. Being able to speak to people around you. If you're just there and you're keeping quiet, you would never really know if things have gone well or if things have gone badly. You never improve
So,
on those sort of
it could be
procedure things.
potentially dangerous and not really helping anybody at the end of the day if you're not willing to kind of communicate with each other.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, every job has its ups and its downs. So, what would you say are the key challenges to your particular job?
That's a very good question. I would actually say it's the sort of novel and new things that we get in, because a lot of the stuff that we're working on nowadays is sort of almost in its sort of test and development stages. It's just coming out into the sort of field of research, and no one's an expert on it. That's the problem. With a lot of these bits of kit that we're working with, no one really quite understands them completely yet. So that can be quite challenging sometimes, because you can often have questions and no one will be able to answer them, and you have to put in
Okay,
the work to try and answer them yourself,
right.
which can be really difficult. If something.
Those are your challenges. What is the
Mm.
reward for all of this? I mean, sounds like a lot of hard, dangerous work going on here. And I mean, there must be some reward in it for you.
Rewarding. One of them is definitely just being out on the open seas. I find that personally amazing. I've always been fascinated by the sea, and I enjoy spending time, obviously, whether it's in work time or personal time. But yeah, being out at sea on a research ship is fantastic, especially when you're a ways out and you coming across dolphins and whales. And I was on a cruise in the Arctic in 2019, and we were in the sea ice, just in the Fram Strait, which is between Greenland and Svalbard, and we saw a polar bear walking across the ice, and it was just amazing to see, a wild animal with, which is just has so much sort of legend and sort of interest around it. And I never thought when I was in school at 16, just finishing my GCSEs, that 3 years later I'd be on a research ship thousands of miles from home watching polar bears walk across the ice. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of surprises, I'd say, working in this sort of environment. You don't really know, no one day is going to be the same. It's not like going into an office where you've always got your desk and chair to work at. When you go to sea, you've got, everything is changing all the time. So yeah, so it's definitely sort of the environment that you're working in is a really nice one to work in, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay, so if you were going to give some advice to somebody who wanted to follow in your footsteps, what kind of advice would you give them?
I think it's important to never turn down an opportunity. I think if you see something, if you see an advert for a job role, or if you see somebody offering you to do some sort of work experience or something like that, you should always say yes to it, because building up your experience, your life experiences, and building up your skill set is so important when you're young. And I think that's really important to sort of spend that time bettering yourself and developing your skills, especially into the field that you'd like to go in. Don't just be satisfied with doing an A level or doing a GCSE. Spend your extra time sort of developing skills around that, whether that just be reading up on things or getting involved in sort of like youth organizations and things like that, things where you can sort of get qualifications and extra little bits on the side that you wouldn't, that if you sort of got to put yourself, you've got to make yourself stand out from the crowd.
I can wholeheartedly agree with you there. Going an extra mile always pays off at the end of the day.
It
So
is, yeah.
yeah, you've been in this job for some time now, but what kind of gets you out of bed in the morning? What kind of motivates you to kind of say, right, another day, let's get in there and sort this out?
Well, I'm not going to say money. That would be the shallow answer, wouldn't it? but in all honesty, looking forward to what the day's going to hold, because you don't know what it's going to be when you go to sea. You don't quite know. It's all a little bit sort of. You could have a normal day, or you could go out and you could see dolphins or whales, or you could go out and you just don't really know what's going to happen. So yeah, it's definitely the sort of feeling of it's always changing and always something new. It's very exciting.
I feel like I want to jump on a boat straight away and go out with you, because sounds amazing wherever you go. So, well,
Yes, yeah, it is. It is amazing. It is amazing. And
so, reluctantly, I'm going to need to draw us to a close. I'd just like to say, Owen, thank you so much for being involved with this today. You've given us a real insight into what it's like to kind of work out at sea with all this sophisticated kit, and clearly a dangerous but also intriguing job. Lots and lots of things going on. And I just want to say thank you ever so much for being part of this project. It's been brilliant talking to you.
yes, thank you very much for having me along, and I hope that anyone that is watching this, seriously considers a career in the marine industry, especially here in the Southwest. You have such fantastic opportunities on your doorstep, and it really is a great place to work. Thank you.